This is Jim and Pat from Morbid Saint. We will see you in the Tampa Morgue.
What's up? This is Tony, and you're listening to the Tampa Morgue. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Mr. Ed Webb. What's up, Mr. Webb?
Mr. Anderson, what's going on, bro?
Doing good, man. Just my daughter's third birthday today, so it's, time is flying, as you know, with your kids basically getting ready to move out. Yeah, yes, definitely does, man. And we opened up the show tonight with a song Assassin by Morbid Saint off the 1990 Spectrum of Death record, and we are actually joined tonight by Jim and Pat. How are you guys doing, man?
Doing good. Thanks for having us.
Doing good. Thank you.
No, we really appreciate you guys coming on, and we're going to talk about, I know you guys got a new record coming out, which we'll get to, and talk a little history with you guys, but we definitely appreciate your time, and I guess let's start from the beginning, right, with what was it like growing up in Sheboygan in the 70s, if I'm pronouncing that right?
Yeah.
Sheboygan, it's a town of about, 50,000 people. It's a cool town right on Lake Michigan. Lots of brats and German heritage, known for our hard rolls, cheese, of course. And it was a pretty chill town, You
guys are like the bratwurst capital of the world, right? They say.
Yeah, I mean, unofficially, yep. But yeah.
Yes, we are.
Yes. You guys are what, about 50, 60 miles away from Green Bay?
Yeah, about 60 miles north of Milwaukee, 60 south of Green Bay.
Okay, cool. So, great. Right. And so I want to. I figure I'll ask each both of these guys a question. What did you guys grow up in musical households, both of you?
My father played pretty much. He played so many instruments, a lot of stringed instruments, everything. He's the one who got me into guitar. I'm not sure about Pat.
Not especially. My dad did play some, like I believe clarinet it was, like in high school and stuff. But the thing that got both me and my brother into music at a young age was the high school we were at. The music class just had a wall of instruments, and in fourth grade, pick your instrument. If you wanted to learn an instrument, pick any instrument. And they had a music teacher that was well versed and could teach you in all the different instruments. So me and my brother both played trumpet all through high school and marching bands and things like that. And I wanted to play drums originally, but parents told me I had to learn a real instrument first. So I followed my brother's footsteps and played the trumpet with him. But yeah, we started out pretty early.
And you did play some drums, though. You played drums in some bands, correct?
Yeah, I did. I finally got a drum set, and we started a band in my basement with a bunch of buddies, played our high school talent show, and I was playing drums and marching bands, triples and snare and marching bands and stuff. So I eventually did get to play drums.
Okay. And when did you guys start getting into like rock music in general? Was it like you guys are about I think I'm a little younger than you guys, but was it basically the Kisses and like the AC/DCs and Sabbaths and stuff?
I was heavily into Kiss when I was like 12 years old. Hadn't been playing guitar at that point yet. But I've always, before that, I mean, every kid kind of grew up at our time, I guess, with like, the Bee Gees and that kind of stuff that was on the radio back then. But the Black Sabbath and AC/DC, like you said, Kiss, that came real early for me. I've always been into always lean towards the harder rock or heavy.
Yeah.
Are you a Days Frehley guy?
Yeah, I was always my favorite.
I was. I when you're at a young age like that, Kiss for me was just, I mean, they were, I'm sure like a lot of people, they were larger than life. You've seen these guys up there, and and unfortunately I didn't get to see Kiss till later on in life. And then with the makeup, when they had their reunion tour, was the first time I actually got to see them. So that was really cool, being able to see them with the original band and everything. So.
And yeah, to piggyback on his Kiss stuff, I actually, like in the 4th grade at the school we were in, we did like an air show, and we were all dressed up as Kiss and stuff like that. And that same year, walking home from school, I found a cassette tape on my way home from school that said 2112 on it, which introduced me to Rush, and kind of everything took off from there. And that was like mind blowing.
I was going to ask you guys. You guys remember what your first records were, or your first tapes, or
Yeah, 2112. I studied that. It was so weird to me because I heard like, radio rock, and I heard Kiss and stuff. But when I heard 2112 and the conceptual kind of thing of it, and just like this witch's voice, and this, like, it was like a whole different chapter of music that opened up.
Mine would probably be a Kiss album, if I can remember back that far. It's probably a Kiss album.
Do you guys remember your first? Of course, you remember your first show. What was your first show that you guys attended?
Mine was way, like you said, later on. But I was probably 16, at the Eagles Ballroom, which is a rave in Milwaukee now. My first real show, technically for me, was a band called Blacklist, and they opened for Accept on their Restless and Wild tour, which was
nice.
That was a great show, especially when you.
Yeah, I tell you, Udo's still got it too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Being as old as he is, he's still going.
Yeah, my first big show I went to was at Milwaukee County Stadium, the World Series of Rock, and it was in '81, I believe. Had Triumph, Loverboy, Foreigner, 38 Special, Quarter Flash, and that was like the big first arena kind of big show I went to. People launching each other's on blankets and flying up, and so yeah. That was the first idea of that, and then it progressed years online, where we have a venue, Alpine Valley, here in Wisconsin, where a lot of awesome arena shows were, a lot of experiences there that were fantastic.
Do you guys remember we started getting to more like heavy, like, we all, like, as we said, we all started out with like the AC/DCs and the Kisses and stuff. Do you guys remember when you started getting into the stuff like maybe the Venoms or the the Metallicas or the Slayers? Was that like, how old were you, say, about that time period when you got into that kind of stuff, you guys?
Probably like, I was probably like junior in high school, maybe. I mean, Black Sabbath and stuff like that earlier, but it wasn't until like the Creators were probably about junior or so in high school.
We actually started, Jay Visser, the other guitar player in Morbid Saint. We had a band before Morbid Saint, just a cover band, and we played Priest and Ozzy, just all the stuff, Maiden, all the heavy metal stuff that was around at that time, and then that kind of band went away, and within about a year's time of that, I was with a friend of mine that I grew up with, who was a really good drummer, and we it was like Metallica, Accept, all that kind of stuff was starting to come out, and Kill 'Em All. And once you heard that, for me, I mean, that was kind of the end of it. That's what we want to play. And it was weird because then when I reunited with Jay, that's what he was playing at that time too. He had gotten into it in that about a year. It was about a year's span. And Slayer, obviously, we were the original Morbid Saint lineup. Before Pat was in the band, everybody used to call us like a baby Slayer, because we played 90% Slayer, and we kind of, our singer played bass at the time, Mike Chapa, and
Yep.
we like Slayer a lot, but that all fell right in that 80, 85, 84 range, 85, somewhere in there, I guess you'd say. As soon as, we're in Sheboygan, and, you don't have the internet. Nowadays, you discover stuff instantly. Back then, that it took a little while to get to our little town, and when, so, but yeah, it was right around 84, 85-ish.
When did you first pick up the guitar, Jim?
When I was 13. So that was a long time ago.
Do you remember your first guitar? What brand it was?
It was not a good guitar. It was a guitar that my father got for me at, I think probably at like a garage sale. Just a guitar and a little amp. Just a complete piece of shit, I guess you would say. But it doesn't really matter at that point. I have friends now who have kids that'll get into, and they want to get them into playing instruments, and and you can buy a pretty good instrument for reasonable price nowadays. A couple $100, you got a fairly decent guitar, way better than what we had. But ultimately, it doesn't. The gear at that point to me doesn't matter. You just learn to play on whatever you have, and the good stuff will come later.
Definitely. And you guys mentioned what you guys formed. So Morbid Saint basically formed in '84, right? It was you, Lee Reynolds, who Lee Reynolds was like 14 at the time.
Yeah, he was. He was crazy. He was amazing.
So you had Lee, Mike, and Jay. You and Jay had already been playing, you said. So Jay came up with the name Morbid Saint?
Jay did come up with the name Morbid Saint, yes. And who did? I had, if this is what you're going to ask, I did have somebody ask me another question, and I thought he got it from, I'm not sure if you really...
Morbid Tales, I think, is what he mentioned at one time.
Yeah, I thought it was something with Celtic Frost, but now I've seen an interview, and he said it was something with Morbid Angel. Oh. I think. So if you're going to ask that, I'm a little vague. I'll have to actually get clarification on that from him. It's one of them, too, where he heard something in a song, and it sounded like Morbid Saint to him or something, or some reason. But it came from something he had heard.
And do you guys remember who designed the logo for you guys? The actual logo you guys used?
Kind of funny.
Yeah, it was funny because I was certain it was a certain individual that we knew, and I've been giving him credit for years. It turns out it wasn't him. He just came down to practice to clarify the story that I've been misrepresenting for quite some time. So, no, it was Tishka, right? Like I didn't really know that well, but it was. Was it? I don't want to get it wrong again. I'll let Jim.
Yeah, no, his name was. It's funny, like you said, because Jay, the guy who we originally thought did do the logo, came down to practice on Thursday, and Jay clarified that the guy who actually did make that logo, his name was Tony Tishka. He's from Sheboygan. I believe he's still around here somewhere. Just, back in that day, people would hand us stuff all the time. It's like, hey, I drew this for you guys. I did this, and maybe you can use it on a shirt and stuff. And yeah, he's the guy who actually came up with that logo.
Yeah, the guy who was giving credit actually did come up with a logo that was used, just not the main kind of cursive.
Not that one.
Yeah.
not the one that we all think of when we hear the name. Yeah. And you guys said you guys were doing cover songs at first. Can I ask you guys a few of the covers? I know you guys were doing like Crew songs, right, and Slayer songs, obviously made. What were a few of the songs you guys were actually covering back then?
Slayer was, God, it was so many. Back then, you're talking early Slayer, so it was a lot like Black Magic, Die by the Sword. We did some Whiplash songs, Creator.
When I tried out for the band, the song was Trial by Fire. I tried out with Testament song.
Nice.
So the things in that vein.
Yeah, it was
Exodus songs. Didn't you play some Exodus
Metallica? We did everybody at that time. Obviously, Metallica was a lot of.
They influenced everybody. Yeah, that was such a. And you guys the first original you guys wrote was Thrashaholic.
Correct. Yep. Yes, that one.
Okay, nice.
That one. That one was written before, I believe, if I remember correctly, that was written before Lee came in the band, because there was actually about a 6-7 month period where we lost our drummer. And
did you guys have two different drummers I saw listed? Because I had read that Lee was the first drummer, but I had seen that you guys had two others listed on there actually.
The technically the band, I mean the Morbid Saint, realistically, Morbid Saint was Lee.
He was the first drummer. Jay
Yeah.
clarified that there was nobody before Lee Reynolds.
Not-
and Morbid
Yeah,
Saint.
there was like someone named Lance Wolf, like
Yes.
I think mentioned, and there was another guy, Dave of Grumman.
Grauman, yes, yeah. Those were all guys that we had in the band, but it was prior to it actually being Morbid Saint and called Morbid Saint. So were they kind of, you know, they were the first drummers, but the band really wasn't. We were just a basement band, just jamming at that time. So when the band was actually formally called Morbid Saint, that was Lee. Lee was the first one. Lance Wolf was actually the drummer that I had talked about earlier, that I grew up with him. And I knew him. He was playing drums in his room, just cranking. He'd crank his stereo and played Old Priest and Rush. He was really into Rush. He was a great drummer. But he was the one that when Jay and I were apart for about a year, and then we got together again, that's the drummer that I brought with me to him and Mike Chapa.
Okay.
So he was a great drummer, but we lost him to a cover band that was playing more mainstream stuff, and they were playing out a lot, and we weren't, you know. So he went there, which was fine, you know, because if he wouldn't have left, we wouldn't have found Lee, and Lee was really an integral part of the music we were able to do. So it all worked out.
Yeah, Lee kind of had a unique approach to his drumming, where he was not so much a mimic. He would try to create his own kind of style in some ways, and just like experiment, like, well, what if I start with my left hand instead of my right hand, or my left foot, or like do this kind of beat. So he was unique in that respect a lot of ways too, and just how he kind of approached creativity. No, he took it from all different angles and kind of came up with his own kind of unique way of doing things. Which
and you guys, when you first started, right? You guys were, from what I had, what I've heard and read, that you guys weren't trying to take over the world really, but you guys were playing every day and practicing all the time, right? But you guys weren't worried about really making it. That was not a concern in you guys' head back then. Was that a fact?
Yeah, pretty much. We were just kind of,
it's what we love to do. So we played it every day. We got together and
it's very rare that bands practice every day. I think it is, but we literally practiced every day, and for some reason we felt it necessary most of the time to be drinking while we were practicing, because we kind of thought, it's like, well, if we're gonna go play a show and be drinking, we might as well practice that way. So it was just kind of a weird.
Went together.
We were kind of mental, I think. I don't know. But it was a lot of time. We literally practiced 7 days a week for years. Which that's why when we recorded Spectrum, we went into the studio and we recorded it live, and I think it was only like two
takes, right? Two takes, except for 2 songs or some shit like that.
Yeah, something stupid. But we could play the stuff like without even thinking about anything. It was crazy.
I remember reading about, which I thought was kind of funny. I wanted to bring up to you guys the equipment you guys were playing with back in '85, right? It was like you guys had like your guitar amplifiers were clean through going distortion through pedals. You guys split the input and put the microphone into it. You could tell me if this is not correct though, but the drums were like it was like Frankenstein almost, put together by different pieces, like clothing racks and metal pipes and shit like that. So I heard you guys really had some rough gear back then, because there wasn't no jobs and no money at that time period, pretty much, right?
There was the jobs that were there were not. We weren't making big money, but we were young,
Yeah.
Lee with the drum set thing. The first time when Jay told me about Lee, and we went to listen to him play, we went to his house, and his drum set was set up in a little closet You couldn't really walk in there. He could get in, but he played and it was great. I'm just like, man, this guy can drum. But my main concern was, how are we going to move his drum set? Because I mean, the toms were hanging on the wall. It was like he just picked drums up wherever he could, and some of the heads he took the rims off and stretched towels over them just so there was something there, because there's no money to even put heads on these things. And I'm like, he's great, but how are we gonna? He's got to get a kit. And he's like, don't worry about it. And he did. He managed to put something together, and yeah. But our first amps, we were running some PV. I can't remember the amp, but it was like a big. It was a pretty big, like, combo type amp that had 4 inputs on it, so you could run 4. Kind of. I mean, it was a nice little amp for what it was. It wasn't meant for what we were doing with it, but. So yeah, at a point we were running through stuff like, not the way he would want to, but we did what we like, and that kind of goes back to my what I said earlier, about equipment that early in the game to me really is irrelevant, because it didn't stop us from progressing, and getting better. So we eventually things got better. By the time we recorded Spectrum, Jay and I were both running boogies, and better guitars. Everything was just better at that point. So, but yeah, the beginning was rough.
And when was the first? What was the first Morbid Saint show?
I think they.
Was that what you guys?
I think the band I was in opened up for him. I believe was it was like at a speakeasy or at like a teen club that we had, and just to touch on the primitive equipment before that, before this first show, they would come over and watch us practice, and we would go over and watch them practice, and then we were going to kind of play on each other's equipment. And when I was playing drum on Lee's set, his drum stool, you had to balance on it because it wasn't set. Otherwise, you fall off his drum stool, and everything just shook and everything. It's like, man, how can this guy play behind his drum set? But the first show was, I believe, at a speakeasy here, and they made us change our logo for the show because it had an upside down cross on it, and we had some satanic references that weren't allowed into the teen club. But I think that was the first show, and
that was the first show. Yeah,
I can't even remember what year that might have been, but
I couldn't.
The time before internet, right? The time before internet, it was such a different world back then.
Oh yeah. It was not a good. You look at how easy it is nowadays to get on social media and just pound your band and just do, all this stuff to promote shows and different things like that. I mean, we used to scrounge up cash and go down to the local gas station, little mini mart that had a copy machine, and we'd run off as many flyers as we could afford, and that's what we'd do at night, spend our time just running around and putting them on cars and whatever we could do just to try to get people at shows. So yeah, it was a way different time than now.
Yeah, we even talk about on this show that we don't even, in Tampa, at least, we started noticing that some bands don't even make flyers anymore. That's like a lost art. And I always loved the flyers. I mean, I still have my old flyers hanging up on the walls. I mean, but it's a different time period now. I don't think 90% of the younger bands they just kind of share it on Facebook or whatever the social platforms are at that time.
Yeah, correct.
They never understood networking.
No,
it's a little different.
Because that's how you did it. You networked. You traded tapes. Nobody does that anymore. Nobody cares.
That was always an exciting time when all of a sudden you'd get something from overseas. We'd get a tape or a review, or we'd be sending stuff out. We're sitting around, putting the postage on the stuff and, handwriting, hand coloring things. And, it was always an exciting time. You get something in the mail, or you're sending stuff out, or you get new correspondence from, all the different bands. So.
Yeah, it's definitely and you guys talk about the hand coloring, which I was going to get to this eventually, but I'll just mention it now really fast. Is when you guys did the Children album, you got the Children demo, the cassette tapes. You guys hand colored 50 of those copies. Actually, speaking of that, you guys did which I think there was 200. You guys put out 200 of those maybe, and I think there was 50 of them that you guys actually did by yourselves.
Yep. Yes, yeah, we hand colored. We get that a lot from people. I think now people are realizing that they are actually legitimate, but we used to get that a lot of people. They'd contact us and they're like, what's with this tape that's colored, you know? But yeah, we sat just for some reason, I don't know, because the original artwork was colored. So we just, I don't know, we thought, well, let's hand color them. And I don't know. I don't know. It just,
And the original artwork, wasn't it done by we have a Summerfest in Milwaukee, and was it a character, like a caricature person that did just things, and they wanted like an evil demon with an upside down cross, but again, he wouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually had a guy airbrush a shirt for me, and I just told him what I wanted on this evil looking guy holding it, similar to what we use. But then that shirt actually went to my stepsister. She was a great artist, and I told her, can you draw this, in like cassette size, whatever. And she actually drew her version of it, which is what's on that cover, which I actually still have.
Nice.
I actually still have that drawing.
Okay. Yeah, I actually saw that you still had it. It's pretty big too, right? It's probably, I mean, we're not a video interview, but it's actually, it's like a paper size, like a pretty decent size it is. Yeah, I remember seeing that. So you guys doing that. In '87, you guys also parted ways with Mike. Why did he leave the band? And I know you guys picked up Tony and vocalist Bob. I don't want to say his name wrong, his last name, so I'll let you say his last name. But I know you guys added Tony and Bob into the band and parted ways with Mike.
Yeah, it's hard for me to remember exactly why. I think Mike just started getting into a lot of different music. And it was probably just a combination of that and things in his life at the time, I'm not 100% sure what really happened there. It wasn't a bad thing, it wasn't like a fight or anything. It just seemed like the right thing for him to do, I guess. Yeah, and then we end up finding Bob. His last name is Sinjakovic, and he was from Milwaukee. We found him. He came down, started singing for us, and he knew Tony, so he brought Tony down. So that kind of all. They kind of came as a package deal. And Bob did one show with us, and it just didn't work out with Bob. He didn't fit. He he was a guy who he had dreams of being a rock star, and it wasn't right. So. But that was when we were already set to go into the studio to record when we parted ways with Bob, which we kind of knew was kind of scary doing that. But we knew about
because Bob wrote a lot of that material, didn't he? On the Lock Up Your Children, he wrote a lot of that material.
He contributed lyrically wise. He was a guy who was really into like we were just talking about it the other night, like Dungeons and Dragons, and he liked to write poetry and write a lot, So there was quite a few songs on there that Bob's lyrics are on. They obviously, when you get somebody who likes to write stories and write stuff, it doesn't come to you in a song format, So the songs themselves were obviously written by the rest of us, but his words had a big influence on those songs. So yeah, Bob. I'm trying to think exactly how many, but he wrote lyrics for
a lot of Assassin, wasn't it?
Yeah, Assassin. He did Scars. Damien, I think. Yeah, I think Damien. It's somewhere. He is credited with he is credited with the lyrics on the songs. It's just hard for me to remember. And Assassin, we were just discussing that the other night too. That's like a 7.5 minute song, and it was originally like freaking like 15 or something. It was just ridiculous. Wow. But he had that many words, and it was always, as long as the word. Well, for me, it's always been like that. If you got words, you could keep writing. Lyrics. Some people don't write with lyrics. I prefer to write having the lyrics in front of me. So having a guy who just had unlimited amounts, of content for you to work with was a good thing. So, but yeah, then we, like I said, we parted ways with Bob, and Pat was drumming for the band that he was in, but he did sing some songs also. So we just approached Pat and asked him if he would be interested in doing it. And
what, Pat? You had like 2 weeks, right, to get that shit together before the recording, I believe it was.
Yeah, it was.
What I was reading.
It happened quick. I mean, it was something like that. But between going there and doing kind of a tryout and then a call back and then let's do this. We'll give it a try. And then the first week that we went down to the studio, it was all music stuff too. So I didn't really start my vocals to the second weekend. So there's kind of that was an extra week. But yeah, about 2-3 weeks was it.
And did you also develop your technique, you believe, like during that time period when you joined Morbid Saint? Because you were mostly drumming, like you were like you did, like you had sang a little bit, but you were mostly a drummer at that time period.
I would say with the songs that I played with my other band, I probably sang like 50% of them. So I was doing singing. It was just, and I would sing like the stuff we played wasn't as heavy as what Morbid Saint was playing at the time. It was more. It was still like Metal Church and stuff like that, and some Slayer and Metallica, and I would sing those songs, and then the other kind of songs would be sung. So I kind of had that extreme kind of rasp to the voice, but they said they wanted more evil, so I tried to manufacture a little more evil when I went into the studio, and it's just kind of how it came out. Certainly I wasn't had great technique at singing, but I was kind of used to screaming already.
And you guys did that, what was it, 4 days and basically 40 hours, correct? And you guys, that was your first time in a professional studio also?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. We had done other stuff. Jay, the other guitar player, he's a real he's got an ear for sound. He's one of those guys that it's weird, but we used to do a lot of 4-tracking like everybody did back then. It's amazing how many tracks you can actually get on a 4-track, if you really work at it. So we had done a lot of stuff like that, went into some other smaller basement studios and stuff, but when we went in for that was the first time in an actual, like, wow, this is pretty impressive.
And you guys, so like we were talking about, the drums the drums and guitars are both live, on that tracked live, correct? And all the songs, I think, were one take, most of them, or and yeah, I mean that's pretty crazy. So that lineup was you guys and Tony, and you had Lee Lee was actually on the drums on that because basically, for people who don't know, so I mean, the Lock Up Your Children and Spectrum of Death are the same record, just it's basically like different album covers, different titles. And you had dealt with a guy that me and Ed personally knew. I know Ed actually was managed by him also, was Eric Reif.
Yes.
We know Eric. I mean, Ed, when he was with Massacre, Ed was their manager. Eric, last time I talked, Eric was actually a big hockey fan. He was a big Calgary Flames fan. The last time I talked to him, we talked about that. But he taught you guys a lot in the studio, I had read. He had actually taught you a lot about recording.
I don't know if we learned a lot from him. I don't think he intentionally tried to teach us anything, but he had a huge influence on, we just expected to go in and play our songs. We didn't understand production and adding
effects and background noises and backwards stuff. We would record and say stuff backwards, play it forward, say it's forwards, play it backwards, and have different chanting or swinging things or like that. It's just, he had a lot of things that just seemed like crazy to us. Like this is going to sound goofy, but in the long run, if you listen to it like with headphones, Spectrum Death has a lot of like weird shit going on in there, and that's a lot attributed to Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he also got you involved with the Mexican label that you guys hooked up with, also.
Correct. Yes. Yep. He brought he. I don't know how, if he had worked with them before or whatever, but yeah, he was probably 100% responsible for that, for getting that out there. And Eric was great. He unfortunately for us at the time, Eric, great for Eric that he got hooked up with Death. But for any other bands, which is understandable, all of Eric's attentions as far as a manager for a band went to Death, which is completely understandable. I mean, that's anybody would do that. So for us, we just kind of kept doing the same thing after that. After the recording and the album and the Avanzada release. Some people, we do interviews and people think we were like really well known at that time, and we weren't. And Spectrum nowadays has a cult following that we just blows our mind.
I was going to ask you about that because I find it fascinating. Like you guys, so with that Avanzado, it was Avanzado Metallica, right? The label, and that was the first Mexican independent label, I believe. And it was two guys that were from a rock magazine, I believe, there at one time, or journalists from that. And that, for you guys, that really got you guys out there because without them, you guys might not have released the Spectrum album. Because, and I'd heard this a bunch of times, and I actually heard Jim, you say in other interviews too, that at first, you got, it didn't catch attention. Like nobody was just like, it was one of those things where, and I still hear to this day that it surprises you guys how it really, what year did you guys start seeing that Spectrum really started getting attention from people?
Probably around 2000. I would have to say around 2010, somewhere around there, because I think that was the motivation of Jay to get the band back together. I believe I think somewhere around there.
Yeah, it was like a slow build. I mean, once the internet started, people started discovering it. It started getting more well known, some traction. Just kind of kept building. So I don't know. I'd say that'd be fair. Like
it wasn't quick. It was. And I tell that to people when it's amazing, and Ed probably can totally relate to this. When you do stuff at a younger age, especially at that time. Nowadays, everybody's got a camera in their pocket, and all the flyers, and we're fortunate to have the few things, from that time. But you don't think of keeping that stuff. You don't think of filming every little thing now. Nowadays, everybody films everything, and in 20 years, they might ask you for something. You're like, yeah, here, I got it. We didn't keep anything. We didn't think
you probably would have kept some of those demos and resold them because I see the prices they go for on the internet.
Yeah, I wish I had mine.
Yeah, I got two. I got two of them.
I mean, it's crazy. And with the name of the album change, with Lock Up Your Children, and that was like the Spectrum of Death. Whose idea was that? And that was basically you wanted him kind of I don't know if he's more respectable name, I guess you would say, or whatever, professional name back then for an album. But whose idea was that to flip the name of it?
I don't know. I think it was kind of Jay's idea. I know Jay thought that, and probably you did too. It was kind of a rudimentary name. Lock Up Your Children sounded more like I don't know, like a.
It doesn't sound as cool as Spectrum of Death. Well, Jay wrote the Spectrum of Death, the little guitar part that's on there, and when you listen to the songs, even the titles of the songs, Spectrum of Death kind of it encompasses all those songs. It just makes way more sense than to just name it Lock Up Your Children. So Spectrum really, when Jay wrote the guitar part, he called it Spectrum of Death, and it just kind of fit that it was just like that should be the name of the album.
And the album cover wise, you guys had the artwork done by John. I don't want to butcher his last name either, but he worked for Edge Entertainment, correct? The artist that did the artwork for you guys.
Yes.
Yeah, he did. That was for years we just, and there's still people, the whole Eddie thing with the album cover, and it's not like we were like dumb and didn't see it when we see it, but we didn't have anything really, that album cover was, I think we drove down to Milwaukee to see it.
Yeah, but to look at some of the artwork that he had, and it's like basically, well, you're going to pick something that he's got. Yeah. We're not going to tell him, how to create an album cover for us. He's got a bunch of original work, different things that kind of are in the realm of something you might like. So we went down there, and that was our best option. And like Jim said, we could see it coming already. That, but that was the Spectrum of Death guy.
But it's loved now. That album cover, like I hear from people all the time, that album, and I think it's a killer album cover too. And I know what you're saying about you could see it and I've heard you guys say before that you realize that it looks like that kind of, but it is an album cover that they love it now.
Yeah, time. It's funny how time changes perceptions and things to some extent.
Yep. And were you guys satisfied with the actual recording from that release?
It at the time, yeah, it was. I mean, it was the best thing we had. We had on tape, but it definitely sounded a lot better in the studio than what is on the recording. I don't know why it sounded great there, but at the time it wasn't. Now I don't like it at all. I appreciate it for. I think part of the appeal that people have to it is the sound, and we kept getting that with the new album. People are like, don't, stay with that, stay with within it. We had no intentions of doing that. If we're going to go in and record something, we want it to sound the best that we can have it sound. And that
you're always going to hear that, right? I don't think that's one thing I never understood is like, of course, as a band, guys, like you want to progress eventually. You don't want to put out the same thing all the time. So it's I understand what you're saying because that is something you always hear. Like people are like, oh, they've changed, but how do you not as you grow older? I mean, especially as a musician, like
right. And I had said this before. If we even if we wanted to try to make an album sound like that, it would. With today's technology, I don't even think we could. I mean, I
probably sound like you're trying to do something. It'd probably make it worse. You'd end up with a shitty kind of production, but it would sound shitty for all the wrong reasons, not for the for the like the heart of this shitty because we cranked everything too loud. It's like manufacturing shitty is worse than original shitty. I
think. Right.
Well, even trying to recreate that music, like. People always want Metallica to be Master of Puppets. It's never going to happen. They're not the same people. Right. It'll never happen again. When we were that age or when you recorded that record, you were different. It was a different time. We didn't have the bands that are out now, all the influences people have and all the stuff that you can hear to go off of. You guys wrote that record with what was available, which was not really a whole lot in our time.
Right. Then we're using tape to record and shit. It's a whole different world.
Well, not even what you were recording. I mean, the bands you were following and a style you could try to create from wasn't like today. You could go turn on. There's 5,000 genres that you can copy from. There was no copying from genres back then. You wrote what you felt.
Right.
That's the difference of today and then. That's why you could never recreate those records again. It's just never. No, but Slayer's never doing Rain and Blood again. It's a moment in time that came and gone.
That's a really good way of putting it. Like you said, what came out of us at that time was based on our environment and everything at that time. What comes out of us now is based on now completely two different things. You try to stay as everybody's going to play. If you're a guitar player, for the most part, I think you have a style that's going to stick with you. But things evolve naturally. I mean, it's just the way it is. So I think like what Ed just said is that's exactly how it is.
Well, yeah, for better or for worse, how the production of Spectrum of Death came out and how it sounds. It was the moment in time that we had and everything came together, and it wouldn't be the same if it didn't turn out that way. I mean, it probably. It wouldn't be looked at the same way. And so in that regard, I enjoy listening to that album. I like revisiting it, hear it, even though the production is like iffy and kind of grainy and hard to hear some things. But that's kind of the beauty of it too, and what made it what it is. And so it's a two-edged sword. I understand when people say, "Oh, this crappy production," or "This is what you got to hold on to." You got to hold on to that. But it's like, it was a moment in time that was captured perfectly for what it was, I think, and I'll take it for that.
Yep.
I thought I read something where that one of you guys said that the sound on you actually preferred the sound on the cassette version than when it got moved over to the disc. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The original for some reason, I thought the original Lock Up Your Children cassette sounds, in my mind, sounds better. Don't know why.
Probably analog to digital. That's probably where it changed, you know?
Yep. Yes. Yeah. Because when we recorded in, it was Opus, and it was an analog studio.
Yep.
And even when we, so it changed to Wave Digital at some point. So.
Yep.
Back then, you guys were too. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, the beauty of back then too was when you recorded, there were imperfections, and some of that stuff was perfect. You know, a weird squeal or a weird something, where now everything has to be perfect. You have to go back and fix it till it's perfect. And I don't know, man. I think when you listen to Show No Mercy, you can hear some of the imperfections on that record, as opposed to if you listen to the last Slayer record, it's completely polished. Two different things now, you know, and that's what I hate.
We had Carl Kennedy on here last week from the Rods, you know, and he was talking about that too. He said now, you know, when he was producing, you know, because he produced some of the old Anthrax records, you know, and Overkill, and he was saying that now when you record bands, these guys know, the kids know you could just punch in, so they don't even. It's just like punch me in here, punch me in here, punch. Back then, you know, I know personally, I love the old demos or the old CDs where you hear that shit, the stuff that makes it feel human, you know, where you feel like you're at the rehearsal.
I can promise you there's no band going in and doing what we did, which is playing live and recording it, because they don't even know the songs all the way through to do that. I can promise you bands aren't practicing 7 days a week like you guys were. They're just not. There's no dedication. I mean, not everybody, but a lot of bands, they just go in, play a part. When they fuck it up, they punch in. The only thing I think is hard to punch in is probably drums. I mean, even today they probably can fix it, but back in the day, you know, now these bands just, I mean, I'm in the studio right now with Monstrosity, and I can tell you that Lee does his stuff, you know, his drum parts are played pretty much by himself to a scratch track he did. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's going in as a full band. And, you know, remember, I'm sure you guys did it. We used to record. I went to Sonic Ranch with Diabolic, and we recorded, so the drummer had a full band to play with. We recorded as a full band, and then if something was worthy of keeping, you kept it. If not, you had to record it all your instruments over, and that's how they did it.
Yep.
That's when the pressure.
Especially if you didn't have any money.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we didn't have a lot of money. Our budget was real low, and that's when we say when we did, it was 2 takes. I think we got like 7 songs in the first shot, like Ed just said, played it live, and then there was 2, which I don't remember which ones, that we had to go back, and not, like you said, just play this part. No, it was play the whole damn thing again, you know, because that's how we did it, you know.
Well, what was Carl saying? No, you can't cut tape too many times because it's too much work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And back then, what's some of the bands you guys were playing with back then? The early shows over Wisconsin. Because you guys didn't do tons of shows, right? You guys did select shows. You guys did shows, but you guys weren't like doing hundreds of shows all the time. What were some of the? Do you guys have certain bands you guys kind of hooked up with and I don't know. In Tampa, we have bands that we play with more often than others. Did you guys have that kind of circuit going on in Wisconsin?
There was a grouping of Milwaukee bands, and there were bands like Numbskull, Mortiskull, Philo Aggression,
Realm. We played with Realm. We played with them quite a few times.
Realm, Acrofet,
Dr. Shrinker.
Yeah.
Oh wow, no, I haven't heard that name in a while.
It's a band called Bleed. I don't think that they ever got all that popular, but there were.
It wasn't a lot of shows. We never really had a, when we would have shows in Sheboygan here, we had a place called Croatian Hall, which is pretty good size hall, big stage. And
I want to ask you about a show there you guys played actually. Did you guys play a show there where you guys made the so you guys made the pots, right? You guys actually like knocked the dust off the ceiling onto all the people that were in attendance, because it was like an older building, correct? Croatian Hall.
Yeah. The video of that is on our YouTube channel.
There was a slight miscalculation on those.
Don't drink and mix flash pots. It's not a good thing. But yeah, no, it was scary. I mean, the guy who owned the place was in the bar in the basement. He thought the building blew up. It was incredible. I actually blacked out for like 2 seconds because the guy who triggered him,
holy shit,
he triggered him when he wasn't supposed to. So when you know something's coming, you get ready for it. But when they go off, when you're not even, it was just like, wow, what just happened? We only used them a couple times, and we kind of figured, yeah, we better stay away from this because someone's not going to make it.
Yeah, it's crazy. And all the dust they were saying came off from all the ceiling fixtures and shit. It's wild.
Oh, yeah.
And another misconception is that you guys didn't tour with Death, right? But you guys did play some shows with them. But that was, people think you actually toured with them.
Yeah, we did not. No. We never toured with them. We had the opportunity to get on some shows that Milwaukee Metal Fest 3 we played with Death was there, and then Eric got us on. It was I'm not sure if there was anybody else, but it was us, Death, and Dark Angel. There was a show in Milwaukee.
Was it I forgot what the name of that tour was, but it was Combat something. I'm not sure, but it was at the
Ultimate
Revenge
tour.
Ultimate
Revenge thing. I think is what they did.
The Palace in Milwaukee. That was a hell of a show. That was crazy. Yeah.
That was it. That was the only. I think those were the only 2 shows we played with Death. I know people.
Did Combat Records come out and see you guys for that show?
I'm not sure if there was anybody there or not. They might have, because that was their tour. I think, or because I mean both Dark Angel and Death on it, but yeah, it was like I'm not sure. Nobody approached us, and nobody offered us anything. He said, "Hey."
Well, that goes hand in hand with like we were saying now. People always think it's like, why didn't Morbid Saint get bigger? Because they like Spectrum of Death. But back then, the Spectrum of Death, we weren't. I don't think we were playing with bands that thought we were good. I think everybody just thought we were just like whatever. They're Morbid Saint. I know Eric did tell me he gave Chuck a copy of Spectrum of Death on cassette, and he said he listened to it all the time. He really liked it. But otherwise, yeah, no, I think we tried at one point to sell copies of our CD and stuff, but we end up having to give them away because they didn't. It was not like it is now. Like you said, people think, wow, this is a great album. It wasn't that at that time. It wasn't perceived that way at all.
And did you guys actually wind up? I was reading somewhere that, speaking of Death, you guys actually left with some of Chuck's pedals one time. Because did you guys backline one of the shows, or you guys were lending your amps to the show?
Yeah, Metal Fest.
That happened.
Metal Fest 3, yeah. He was on our side, and he was on my side of the stage, and I got him hooked up to my boogie, and he had a Boss, the orange distortion that everybody was kind of running back then. And he brought that up, and I'm like, I don't think you're going to need to use it. Actually, it probably wouldn't have worked well with the boogie anyway. But he set it down on the riser, and when we collected our equipment, it was still sitting there. We ended up with it. I think we got it back to Eric. I think that we tried to get it back. Whether he got it back, I'm not sure. But we had Chuck's distortion pedal. Should have kept it.
Yeah, I was about to say you got them in the demos. You're gonna have a nice year, and you'll be able to go on some vacations and shit. Yeah. So you guys put out Spectrum of Death in '92. You guys put out. So you guys actually didn't put it out though, right? But you guys did put out some advanced cassettes of the Destruction System album, right? So it was a tape, right? You guys put out only a handful of them, I believe.
You talking a black tape?
Not the black tape, the Destruction System that you guys didn't release. I know it got re-released in 2015, but you guys actually did put out some of the cassettes of that, didn't you? Like 30 or 35 cassettes or 40 at that time period when at the shows, maybe.
I don't remember any of that.
Just the black tape with the white logo on it, completely different logo. That black tape is 4 songs off of Destruction. That's what we released. Destruction
on each side, right? On A and B is the same songs.
Same songs, correct. And Destruction was never finished, so that's why we never released it. When it finally did get released, it came out actually before 2010. I think it was released. It was obviously a bootleg. We don't even know how it got out. Yeah. So, but in 2015 is when Jay I wasn't in the band then. Pat, I don't know if were you in there when they did that.
The guy from Greece did Spectrum. The official Destruction System release was a guy from Greece on Weird Face Records, and yeah, I was around when he was doing it. So that's the only release of Destruction System that I know of, official release. I'm not sure what you might be referring to.
Do you guys know how it got leaked? Because some of those vocals on there were rough, right? The vocals were rough, and the songs weren't completed and stuff. Do you guys actually know how it got out there?
No, we have no idea. Nobody will fess up to leaking it out. But it wasn't finished. And, and like you said, the vocals, that was part of the reason was, Pat laid down some vocal tracks, but they weren't ever meant to be the finished vocal tracks. We were going to go back in, but things changed, and we never actually got that chance to do that. So we would have never. It wasn't in our minds. It wasn't ready to go out, but it got out. So once it's out, what are you going to do?
And you guys had more songs you were going to record for that too, didn't you? That didn't actually get done for that release.
I think
when you guys were actually working on it.
Yep, I believe so. And some of them, Central Media released pretty much the whole catalog back when they put out the Spectrum of Death Extended. That had
I think just like four.
There was a couple on that we also released the Thrashaholic CD with the music video and stuff. And then there was 4 on there. 2 of those I think were songs that were going to be on Destruction System.
And you guys recorded that twice too, right? That actually for the second, because the 2015, that's a re-recording. Is that?
No, we never.
No, so that's the same recording still.
Yeah, it's the same one. Somebody doctored it up or did something with it. I don't. Like I said, I don't. The studio closed. Wave Digital, where we recorded Destruction, it closed, and we, again, back then, even the original Spectrum tapes, I think they probably recorded over them, because I think that's pretty much what they did in studios back then. They didn't, unless you wanted to pay for the actual 3-inch tape, which we didn't. So, all that stuff is gone, the originals, unless somebody has them that we don't know about. But no, we did not. We didn't go back in and re-record Destruction. That is the recording we did. It's just they
found a way to make it a little.
Did something to make it sound a little bit better, but it's.
How do you guys feel about bootlegs? Because I mean, obviously it's a compliment in a way if you actually think about it, that someone's actually doing it. But I mean, you guys have been bootlegged a lot. I mean, look at your discography. You'll always see like different versions of this from different labels. All these different, like, does it bother you guys, or you just kind of take it with a grain of salt?
Doesn't bother me at all. I don't know about you.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. What are you going to spend time? And like you say, it's a compliment. People want to hear it. The more people that are interested in it, the better.
I think the only the worst part about a bootleg would be is if somebody reproduces it, puts it out there, and they put out a really bad product.
Yeah.
Because then if somebody's hearing it for the first time, that's what their impression is of it. That would probably be the only thing. But I think a lot of the following behind Spectrum of Death is probably directly contributed to all the bootlegs. Because
speaking of issues with that, you guys had the wrong band picture put on one of them, right? Like there was the wrong bass player on one of the releases, on a Spectrum of Death, I think it was, right? Someone had put the wrong bass player.
The original, when we had Tony recorded Spectrum of Death, and then Tony left the band, and we got Mike Chapa back in the band, and this all kind of happened. It was just kind of weird when that whole time frame was. So we were playing a show in Milwaukee, and it was just a miserable day, hot, and we got out of the show, and Eric had sent a photographer to take a band photo for the back of the album. And so if you look at the back of that album, we just look stupid. It's bad. It's a horrible photo.
Yeah.
But Chapa is there, and it just happened that they put his name on the album and originally didn't even credit Tony for playing bass. They put Chapa on there, and that's been a rough thing, But we've tried to set that straight whenever we have the opportunity with Relapse Records. That's got the right lineup. I think everybody now, if you know Morbid Saint, that it's a mix-up. But for Tony, it should have been him, but he wasn't in the band at the time, and that's when they took the photo. So.
It's crazy. You guys, so what is the story? The Black Tape, that was recorded in '92 at Six Sound Studios. But what the 4 tracks? Like what was the story with that one?
I'm not sure. That was at Jay's house was really where we were recording that.
Yeah.
And because that album never really got finished, or that was after we did the studio end, we figured that out. But we wanted a better representation of what we had originally done, or we just wanted to record these songs and get a better recording of them, I think, and do them justice. And we wanted to see what we come up with, and the Black Tape was what we did. I'm not sure there was anything more to it than just trying to improve upon the recording of the songs.
Right. Yeah, and we wanted we knew we weren't going to be able to finish Destruction, and I think the studio had closed, and it was just a whole bunch of just weird stuff that happened at the time. But we wanted basically it's another demo, and it actually sounds, to me, it sounds way better than the Destruction System that's actually released. The Black Tape is hard to find. I have one copy of it, but the sound on that actually, considering, like I said, like Pat said, it was done in Jay's house in his basement. It actually sounds, our recording sounds pretty good. Even today, I think it sounds pretty good. But it's not many people have it. I think it is on the Century Media.
It is.
Century Media actually has that version. There again, did they do something to it? I don't know. But believe it or not, the original cassettes still sound pretty good. If you can play them, if you can find a cassette that can play it on.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing now. You have to find them and then hope they don't snap, right? I mean, because I know like a lot of the old tapes now, you just gotta, these things are selling for like on the internet for hundreds of dollars, and I couldn't imagine. I mean, I have cassettes. I'll be honest, I don't listen to them anymore. I have all my cassettes from when I was a kid, man. It's like, but you guys, so what, 90, 94, you guys both leave the band. What was the reason for was it just time for a change? Just, Jim, I know you, which I definitely want to talk about as your haunted house man, but you guys decided to leave. Was it the same time period you guys both left?
Well, I think we just kind of stopped altogether in 94.
I left before Pat. Yeah. Pat was still in there because there is some video of a show where it was just you, Jay. It was a 4-piece. They did a show, so Pat was in there a little bit after me. For me, it was just it was nothing personal or with anybody in the band at all. I've been friends with these guys my entire life. We all live within miles of each other. We always have. It was just at some point you gotta decide what's more important. You get family. You get what pays the bills, and me farting around in the basement.
And something you said earlier too about the 2010 thing, people don't realize, like at that time period in 94, you guys weren't like on tour buses touring around the world. It was people weren't even at that time. It wasn't like now. You weren't going to find a Morbid Saint tape on Discogs for like $500. Back then it was a totally different time period for you guys.
Yeah, we were a local band or regional at best. That's really what our footprint was. So yeah, that's absolutely correct. Yeah, and
Jim, Jim did.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Pat.
Well, I was going to say after Jim left, and there was a time we were doing some shows, but things really, the scene was kind of falling apart a little bit. What there was around, and we could just tell it wasn't the same. We weren't getting the same. Kind of enjoyment out of it. At least I wasn't. So that's when I decided to leave too, and everything I think just kind of fell by the wayside until like 94. Then I moved to Minneapolis for a while, and a couple of years later got a call about coming back or doing a Destruction System, and then it was the old guys back together, but a different bass player this time instead of Tony.
That's where Bob comes in. But you guys, and also during that time off, you guys were doing a bunch of different shit, right? You guys did. So what, Jim? You and Jay were doing hollowcore, and we see. Pat, is it true you were working with elephants, Asian elephants, at a zoo?
Yeah. I moved down to Baton Rouge for a while and was working as a zookeeper and was working with a couple of Asian elephants. Yeah, and that's I was doing for about 3 years.
And you were also in a band called Sergeant Discharge?
Yes. Yeah, I was. I came back. Some old friends of mine, when I moved back up to Wisconsin after living down there, just kind of felt like getting back into it a little bit. And the guys had a band, and it was like, let's have some fun.
Jay actually was in that band for a little bit too.
Oh yeah,
Sergeant Discharge.
Yep.
And Jim, you weren't really playing much. I wanted to ask you, but you did now when they did the 2012, the Thrashaholic, did you go back and do some of the guitar parts on that, or was that just all old material?
Nope. That was all freshly recorded at that time. Yes, that was.
Because it was all freshly material.
That was with me. I did participate in that. Had a little bit of time. But yeah, besides that, yeah, I had basically almost haven't played guitar for 15 years or something.
Wow.
Something like that.
It's something you were doing that I thought was awesome. I'm a big fan of these, as you could probably tell looking behind me. But you did a haunted house, right? It was the Splatterhouse haunted house, which, I mean, and I've heard it. I had no idea you were involved with this, because I believe that was ranked as like one of the top 10 scariest haunted houses in America. But you guys, so you did that for a long time. Now that ended in 2018.
19 was my last year. Yeah, I started that in 97. And had a pretty good run. I mean, that's how I made my living for the last 20 some years, up till 19. And I love, like I said, I noticed the Frankenstein back there behind you.
Yeah,
I love horror. I have a horror themed room in my basement next to my Packer bar. Sorry, Ed.
Oh, we're gonna get to that at the end of this show. We're gonna talk about this.
Oh shit!
We're gonna talk about this.
But yeah, I love horror. I've always been into it. But it for me, it was always a creative aspect. You know, I've always been a creative person. I like creating. I like creating music. But for me, it in this time things have changed a lot. In 19, prior to that, even I could see the crowds changing. You know, kids. You know, if I could give them something that would, let them sit and play on their phone, they would probably come to it. But it seems like the crowd, the younger kids nowadays, they don't want reality. They don't want to come in and be physically scared by something. Was
it fun though, man? Because I'd have to think it was awesome. Like, like when you first started doing it, because I'm a horror guy too. We have actually some actors on this show sometimes and stuff. Well, I mean, at first, was it just that's because if like you're like me, you love the horror movies. Was it just really cool to be involved in that? And how because you had a big thing going on. You had like the Psycho Santa, you had the effects going on. It was a whole big setup you had going.
Yeah, we one of the things that really separated us a lot, and I don't want to take a lot of this up with this, but one of the things that really separated us was we always have had just all adults working at the haunted house, and because of my background with being with bands and stuff, sound was a big part of Splatterhouse, and so each room had just a full blown huge sound system in it. None of our actors, you would never hear our actors at all. Everything was pre-recorded. So when they came out, it was a sound of whatever it was, whatever creature, whatever. But it was so loud you couldn't, being at a concert where you can't even hear yourself think. You can't talk to the person who's with you. We wanted that atmosphere in there because it's one of your.
You guys were playing music in there too, weren't you? Like Slayer. You guys had music going and stuff like that too. The whole Slayer and.
We pounded the heaviest, most brutal shit we could play, and that just was themed through every room. It was nonstop till you got out. Yeah, it was pretty hardcore. But yeah, we lasted a long time. We had a good reputation, won some award things for that kind of stuff, whatever. But it was great. But it was time to step away, and because I did finally do that, that's what opened up the opportunity for this to happen again, because I had the time.
Because Morbid Saint wanted you back, right? But you just didn't have the time at one point.
Jay asked me every year. He'd come to the haunted house every year, and he'd just keep bugging me. You ready to play yet? I'm like, I just can't. I don't have the time. Running even a haunted house, people always come to me and say it's like, oh, it's got to be great having a job that you work a month out of the year, and I'm like, yeah, no, we're open for a month out of the year, but I work on this year round. We had a 32,000 square foot building, and I mean, we would take a month or two off after the season and then get right back at it and building and changing for next year. So it was like running any business. It's your life, it's not a job. If you have a business, you don't have a job. You have your business is your job. That's your life, and all your time is consumed with it. So that's why I wasn't able to. I've always wanted to play again, just didn't have the time. So, like I said, by selling it, I was able to get back, and a lot of that getting back was determined by this guy right here. If I talked to Jay and I said, you talk to Pat, if Pat's coming back, and you can get the bass player and drummer, the bass player Bob Zabel we have now, and the drummer DJ Bogomil. They were in Jay's last formation of the band, in like 3 years ago, 4 years. And I said, if you can get those guys and Pat comes back, I'm all in. And I think Pat might have mentioned the same thing.
Yeah, and with Bob, people, Bob was around during the early rehearsals for you guys. You guys had tried to get him in the band before, so he's been around since pretty much day one, right? I mean, you guys actually, if it was up to you back in the day, he would actually played on the Spectra record.
Yeah, correct. Yep, he wasn't. He felt he wasn't ready at the time, but he's actually been in the band, I think, longer than both of us have ever been.
At all the years.
At one point in time, Bob's been around forever. So, it was just the right time. It worked. Pat was able to do it. Situations changed for Pat. Used to live in Chicago, so he was traveling the last time when he was in a band. So, that's difficult. And now he's back here. So, it was the perfect time for us for everybody to be able to do this again. And it's great and have fun.
And Pat, you were doing a band called Uncivil War, right? With you guys from Hyrax, Whiplash, Creator involved with that. And you guys did a 3-song EP. Are you still involved with that, or was that just a kind of a one-time deal?
Well, I was, it was just kind of an off thing. I actually never even met, Scott Owens was in it. He was doing the guitar work. He was the guy from Hyrax, Joe Cangelosi. I hope I'm saying your last name right, Joe. Who is, has played for all kinds of bands, Creator, Whiplash, and his bass player friend was out on the East Coast. So everything was kind of remotely done in different studios. And it was I just had an itch to do it. And I contacted these guys. They were looking for a singer. And I was just kind of wanting to see, what I could do if I could write a song with them. They liked it. And it just kind of ended up being a 3-song EP. That was very difficult to get together, just from the remote aspect of everybody doing different things and recording on different equipment and tracks. But it was a great opportunity, and really we're great guys, happy with the songs. But it was, Joe has Carnivore AD he's doing right now, and he's got a lot of other projects. And I ended up coming back to Wisconsin, and that's when they approached me, and it's like, well, Jim wants to play again. And they approached me. I was like, well, Jim, Morbid ain't back together. Let's write an album. It was like, all right. I kind of had that itch from, doing this EP with these guys. And it was like, all right, let's do it. But I mean, I'm very thankful for that opportunity, and proud of that EP and the work that we did. And those are some great guys, Scott, Joe, and Rich.
So we'll go to the current now. Obviously, you guys have had a lot going on. Jim, you've been back in the band for 3 years now. Is it you guys been back with pretty much?
About that, yeah. Yep.
Okay. And so you guys are not signed to High Roller Records, but you guys have a distro deal with them, because you guys were on Century Media, and you guys there was a period of time where you didn't own your material, because there was a loophole in the contracts that you guys didn't know about.
Are you talking about where it kept
renewing if you didn't cancel it yourselves?
Yeah. We didn't really know that was there, but it wasn't the worst thing, because we weren't really doing anything to need to change anything at the time. But once this all came up, we basically just told them that we don't want to renew it anymore. So we we got everything back, which is where the relationship with High Rollers came from, through Century Media, because they wanted to continue to release it. So they came to us, and we wanted to keep working with them. Everybody in the band was happy with them, and They were up for the opportunity to even have the new album. You know, everybody thinks that we were going to get, you know, some major labels or some little bit bigger labels would even contact us, but they didn't, because we're still Morbid Saint. You know, no one really likes us, I guess, and it is what it is. It's fine. We don't care. You know, we're still not here to make a ton of money off of this, and we're just, you know, we're old enough to realize that this is what it is, you know, and we wanted to put out something we were really proud of, and hopefully the fans like. And you know, we know it's not Spectrum. There's no way it can be. We kind of discussed that, but we tried to keep it as related to that. I mean, we are who we are. We play the way we play. It is what it is.
And there's still three of them pretty much original guys too, so it's going to be in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like a good way to, I mean, not that this is the end, but a good way to, like, if there is gonna, if this is the last album, it's a good way to put a final chapter to it. We got together, you know, with the back old friends, the same, and we're not looking to do anything, you know, anything other than write the music we want to play, revisit the friendships and the love we had for the music that we had so many years ago, and bring that back to life, and bring that back, that feeling back, the practices and the writing aspect that we have, you know, together as a band.
And we're going to talk about the new record now, which is Swallowed by Hell, which me and Ed have both heard. It's a killer record. And you guys, so yeah, basically when you guys started going to the studio, so you guys started trading riffs on a WhatsApp, basically. Yeah. Like, I guess you guys basically started communicating through that, switching riffs back and forth.
Yes. Yep. That was the, you know, because we only practice 1 day a week, so it just seemed like a helpful tool to be able to communicate in the off time, you know, from being at practice. And Pat, you know, would send lyrics. I'd send him stuff. It just kind of it's been a pretty comfortable way of us being able to collaborate and you know, and build the songs together. And it took a little longer than we had anticipated, but that's understandable, I guess. You know, it's hard to believe that you, like you just said, you know, that we've been back 3 years. It doesn't seem like a
quick 3 years.
It does not seem like 3 years at all. You know, and like Pat said, you know, one of our practices, we practice once a week, and it's not like a chore, you know, like, oh crap, I got to go to practice tonight. You know what I mean? We all chose to do this, to come back and do this, and we have a blast at practice. I mean, it's the one night a week, you know, you get away from your wife and. Sorry.
Well, you guys are in a good situation now.
Not wife.
Life. Yeah, life. You guys are in a good situation now, though. It's good for you guys now too, because now you don't have to, like, those days of drive. You know, you don't have to do the van, driving around in the back of the van, sleeping on top of each other. You guys are going to be, because, you know, you guys have got that, you know, like you said, now the people are looking at Spectrum of Death, and I hear it all the time. It's a classic. It's a classic. It's a classic. You start hearing this now. So you guys are going to get the opportunity to play the fests now and stuff like that. And I know you guys have some stuff booked, which we'll talk about. But we're going to play a song from you guys, and I wanted to introduce it. We're going to play Swallowed by Hell, which is the title track. And can you kind of explain what the song's about?
Go ahead, Jim.
Well, I've said this in other interviews. We tend to stay to. We don't go political. You know, we don't voice our political views, anything like that. And I like to tell people that, you know, interpret the song the way you interpret it. Everybody's going to interpret things different. You know, the song is just the words were written based on just, I think, the way the world has been in the last couple of years, and all of the crap that we've all been dealing with.
It's a fucking circus.
It's like the world's going to hell, and this is kind of the hell in the lives we're living. Everybody's just getting consumed by it, swallowed up by all the stuff that's going on, whether it be, you know, whatever aspect you're looking at of, you know, the wars that are going on, the social shit that's going on, the, you know, I don't know.
It's exactly that. It's, you know, and like I said, you can interpret it both ways, you know, basically from both sides of the fence, if you want to say so. But there's a lot of evil crap going on in the world, you know, in the last couple of years, and it's just, you know, like Pat said, you know, it's kind of consuming us, you know, and it's unfortunate because, you know, life is too short, man. Have fun, you know, and that's basically what, in a nutshell, without me getting really deep into it, which I don't want to, but that's kind of what and that's kind of why it became the title track of the album. We just released our fourth single from the album called "Rise from the Ashes," and that song that
was going to be a title track, right? At one time,
that was in the running for title because it just fit with Morbid Saint, "Rise from the Ashes." But you know, it's like "Swallowed by Hell" kind of just it encompassed more of the whole, kind of like Spectrum of Death encompassed the entire album. "Swallowed by Hell" kind of either one would have worked, but that's the one we went with.
We're going to play that track now, and we'll be back on the Tampa Morgue right after this. This is Swallowed by Hell off the upcoming record that's going to be out on February 9th on High Roller Records. We'll be right back on the Morgue after the song.
The endless pain and agony, sacrificed for all to see. One by one, they all shall fall. Their twisted plan revealed to all. The end is just beginning. With fists in the air, we will stand up and fight. They'll pay the price for those that fell. Their souls released to burn in hell.
Don't
Okay, that was Swallowed by Hell from Morbid Saint. Like I said, it's coming out on February 9th. And you guys, so one thing with the bass on that album was I had heard that, I know you guys are big fans of Bob's playing, so you actually wanted the bass to kind of stick out on this record and not bury it.
Absolutely.
Yep. Oh, yeah. We wanted you to hear Bob. And I think you can. If you guys have listened to it, I'm hoping you can hear.
Yep.
He adds a lot of
Oh,
stuff.
yeah. I'm a bass player, so I enjoy the bass up front.
You like that?
More.
Awesome.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
and
when
the
Ed heard
production
your
was great.
record, man, when Ed heard your record, he got a hold of me the other day, and he's like, "Dude, that's fucking like." He was totally, yeah. You know.
I get up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym with my son because he doesn't like going afterwards because he works all day. Loser. But when you're listening to that at 5:30 in the morning in the gym, that's enough to get you going. Because when he gave me the advance, Tony sent it to me. I was like, finally, because between that and we got Advance of the Rods, and I was like, wow, man, this is like bands that were around in our time that are here now. And to me, there's something to say about that, and I'm not cutting on any new bands, but they just, what we went through, what we listened to, what we grew up on, it really comes through the stuff we write today. I mean, because you can't, can't recreate the past, but it still is able to influence the future. Because I don't listen to a lot of new stuff. And when I say new stuff, like if a new band comes out, unless it's somebody I know that's in the band or somebody I know told me, hey, go listen to this. Most stuff sounds just repetitive. But
well, yeah, Jim, Pat, what do you think about it? Is it harder as you get old? Like I'd always say, because we're all getting older, us guys, like sometimes it's hard to take in all the new stuff because you kind of get, I hate to say stuck in the past, but I believe this because, you've heard so much music. Is it hard for you guys to find a lot of new bands that you guys get into?
Yeah, it is for me in a lot of ways, as Ed mentioned. But I try to, a lot of the newer stuff I'll see is like if there's like a festival we're going to be on, like upcoming festivals, I'll look at like lineups and it's like, well, these are bands playing that day I never saw. Let's get familiar with some of those songs. So when I watch them live, I'll be able to enjoy it a little more. And so that respect, so I get into some new stuff that way. But if I just got time to crank stuff, I know what I love. I love my old school stuff. And it's like, man, I go back to the tried and true, the stuff that always hits home for me, that always, hit the right feelers for me. So I am kind of a product of that.
Right, and I think what Ed said is that's so true, and that's always going to be with us older bands, like you said, the young people now are the new musicians, younger musicians. They don't have a clue what it was like back then, and that's probably a good thing for them because it wasn't great, but we are who we are. We don't change.
Creatures of our past.
We are, exactly. This is us, man. And we are part of the the 80s, 70s crowd that completely different. And
could you imagine sitting in your room and having like I use Reaper to record with because it's free, and having all these guitar plugins and all the stuff you could use to write, and then you can literally just write a tune in a couple days that's cut up, but sounds like you wrote it as a front to back book. I think sucks.
I think if we had that back then, we wouldn't be talking right now.
Yeah. Agreed. That's what makes us what we put out.
Right.
Like he was talking about Testament Trial by Fire. I mean, I remember seeing that video coming home from high school on the local music metal channel and thinking, this is some of the most awesome stuff I've ever seen. Now, these kids today would see that. They would be like, that's kind of stupid because it's so washed out. Now, when we saw it, we didn't know Overkill or Death Angel, watching these kids play thrash metal. Now, kids just have too much perfection to their craft, and to me, I think it overwashes what is out there. I think the music is too perfect. to be honest with you.
What baffles me, I'm over in Europe right now, and I see it at the festivals here a lot, and it's cool. Like, I don't want to be like that old fucking guy who, like, you know, but you notice that, like, the kids are dressing like we did in the 80s, and we really didn't have much of a choice back then. Like, these were the sneakers you had. You had, like, 3 different pairs to buy. You had, like, now it's like a uniform, you know? Like, I mean, it's crazy to me to see that, and I see it all the time. And you guys know this, too, now, putting out a new record. How different is it that, like, now bands are putting out, if you have to put out 4 or 5 singles, you have to put out before your album's released. Like, this is the way it works now. Was that hard for you guys to adjust to, or was it just kind of, you just went with the flow?
Just pretty much, yeah. We looked at what everybody does, and, you know.
Yeah, Jim said, yeah, because Jim's got his fingers on the pulse of what's going on. And I'm like, why are we doing all this? He goes, no, that's what we got to do. You got to release singles. You got to get these clicks. You got to go on all these different formats. You got to, you know, got to do some interviews. We got to do some networking. And then this time frame, we release another one. Now this one will be a live video or something a little different than the first single. We'll do a video for it. It's like, oh man, this sounds like a lot of work before this album even can be released. But that's how it's done. That's how it's done, I guess. I mean, who am I to argue with Jim?
Well, I've said it before. I think there's technology is here, and I tend to just embrace it. There's no fighting
or to leave you behind, right? It's just the way it goes. I mean,
it is the way it is. So you might as well go with it. But it don't matter how much technology comes into play. It's still us. We're still
correct.
Still who we are, and like you said before, Ed, too. You think about that. You look at the songs we wrote and even just the lyrical content of the songs we wrote back in the day. You tend to write about things you know or have read, your life experiences and stuff like that. I mean, what do kids write about today? I mean, they don't do anything.
Cell phones,
video games,
right?
Having everything handed to them, because that would be an awesome song. Is my mom gave me Xbox, freaking whatever. Stupid.
I don't want to alienate anybody. I definitely don't.
I know. The younger crowd's really gonna fucking hate this show.
No. I'm just saying that we grew up during a time when you left when the sun came up. You didn't come home till the streetlights came on. That was like when that streetlight came on, you had to be in the house for dinner, and that's how it was. There was nobody looking for you. There were no cell phones to track you. We had none of that. We got on our bikes. We took off. We came home. And it was a good period of time. And, some of us had a rougher life. And that's where some of the best vocal and lyrics came from in songs from people who might have had a drunk dad or, was beaten at home or something like that. As shitty as it sounds, but some of the best music came from their upbringing and where they lived and where they were from. Where today, can you really say that by a lot of standards where houses are $500,000, $600,000, $700,000? And people are fucking driving around at 16 in a fucking Mustang GT,
Well,
no.
shit, you guys, I'm sure you guys all did this. We all people may laugh now, but Headbangers Ball on Saturday night, what did you do? You stayed up and watched the shit because it was the only thing, being from Jersey, we had, like we always say, Ed, we had WSOU, we had the radio, like the college radio and stuff. That's when you heard this kind of music. It wasn't everywhere. You'd buy the magazines, you would learn the band names out of them, you would see the little pictures, you would see a cover, as we always talk about, the liner notes and shit. Now it's like, that's why I'm not, you have to, which I know, actually, I thought this was really cool with the Morbid Saint new records coming out. So the album comes out, which doesn't relate to what I'm talking about. Everyone's downloading now. It's just the way it goes. Spotify, all this shit. And I don't know if this is true, but you guys, the album comes out on the 9th at midnight, right? But you guys have it coming out at 11 on the webpage, the download of the album. Is that actually a fact?
Yeah. Everything's an hour earlier.
Nice. So you want to get it first.
Yeah, if you want to get it first, you got to come to our website.
Well, and we've done that with all the singles too. They all come out at 11. They're released on the site. And I just want to clarify, they're not free on the site. You got to pay for them. But I did that for the people who really want it and the people who really want to support the band. And we know people are gonna, why would I buy it from them when I can wait another hour and download it for free on Spotify, or whatever. If you really want to support the band and then come to our site and buy it. It's not that expensive. We're not gouging for it at all. We know we're not here to make money. We're not, but we do have to support the band. That makes sense.
Yep. No, it's great. And you guys also stream rehearsals too, right? Sometimes will just go ahead and stream a full rehearsal, which is cool too.
Yeah, once in a while. It gets hard because, like I said, sometimes our practices are, a little too much alcohol gets in there, and now people are going to be watching us going, look at these idiots, So it depends what's happening if we're going to stream or not. So.
Oh, that's totally cool. And the drummer AJ, he joined in 2016, and that was one of your requirements, right, Jim? When you came back, you kind of wanted to make sure that AJ was involved with the band, because you've basically played with, as we talked about earlier, you guys had a few drummers prior, but you've basically played with 2 drummers in this band.
Yeah, right. And I just want to clarify that you're not dyslexing it. It's DJ.
I'm sorry about that. I am dyslexic. It happens all the time on this show.
That was he. I had he was with Pat. Pat never even played with him when Pat was at Morbid Saint in the new formations of it. But I had seen him down there. I was down to a couple practices. Like I said, I've lived next. Jay lives literally not even a mile from me, our whole lives. So I've been to practices and I seen him drum, and that was one of the things, because I knew in order to play this music and to record a new Morbid album, you have to have a good drummer. I mean, you just have to.
Have to.
And there's not a lot of them around. I mean there are, but not around here. There's drummers here, but anybody who's worth anything is already in a band. And he's young, which is, you got to have that,
Yes.
And the kid is freaking amazing. And so yeah, I definitely said if you can get him back, that because I knew what it would be like if we got back together and we didn't have a good drummer. It wouldn't have been good. It's like, it limits you to what you can do.
It's huge, and that's why the drummers. That's why you have, like most towns have, which we know this from Tampa. You have like 2 drummers who play in 12 bands or 20 bands, because they're the dudes that can do it. I mean, they're the guys that everybody wants, because it is the backbone of everything.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, we got lucky.
Yeah. So you guys did this record. You guys recorded it at Bell City Studios and mixed it at Chernobyl Studios. And let me see here. Yeah, and you guys, the artwork, obviously, we all know who did the artwork for that. You guys had Ed Repka do it, who we all know. That had to be a big thrill for you guys, because we all, we're all about the same age. Like I said, we all grew up on the old Megadeth covers and just all the covers he used to do. So how did you guys get him involved?
We when we were going to have somebody do, we were kind of talking about the artwork and the album cover and stuff like that. And I actually brought it up. I'm like, it would be really cool to have Ed Repka do it. And we discussed it, but we were all kind of, I think, the same way. It's like, well, what's that going to cost us? We didn't know.
Because I know I'm wondering what it cost you, but I won't ask on this show. But I'm going to ask you when we get done with the show.
Okay, that's fine. But I just said, well, you know what? It ain't going to hurt to ask. All you can do is throw out some number that we just ain't going to work. So I contacted him. He threw out a number, and I'm like, we can do that. We can, that can happen. So we've it's kind of weird. Pat and I were just talking a little bit before, when Spectrum, when we released that, for years, we got nothing but people giving a shit about the album cover, so be it. Now people like the album cover. Well,
I'm right. It is like that, right? I have to ask you about these. Everyone now, when you talk to people now, because you guys, you guys are gonna, when you guys do shows, you guys, I know, done a few shows which you weren't going to do, but you did a few that you did do. I'm sure you guys hear about the album cover all the time, and people probably tell you they love it, right?
Yeah. Now it's completely different. But now but when we released it, they didn't like it. But now we're already starting to get it, which is amazing to us, because when you put stuff online, you're going to get comments from all these kids who live in their basement and whatever. But now there's people ripping on us for that Ed did the cover, and it's horrible, and we're like, really? Are you guys I just really, spend your time somewhere else. Why bother? I mean,
what's bad is now good. What's good is now bad, and it's like the whole fucking bizarro
It's
world.
crazy, isn't it? I mean, yeah, exactly.
They have no idea. They have no idea the history of that guy. They have no idea what he did, and that's the reason why they're slagging it. And
I've always thought since old Megadeth covers, I was like, I would love to have this guy do a fucking album cover for me. I mean, if it's just the money, if it's the big thing, right? I mean, but yeah, so it's like a dream for us people our age. It is, right, Ed? That's a dream to have this guy do.
I always tell, I've said this before, when these chodes like to talk shit, it's like, hey, do me a favor. Send me some of your songs you wrote. Show me your album cover. Oh, you don't have any because you fucking suck. So how about you get off the computer and go back to Xbox and go do something else? Because the people who are talking shit are the ones that have no talent. Right. They're the ones that think that they could write the best album, yet they have no talent to do any of it. But in their head, they think that, man, I could have wrote this riff better, or man, the best song would have been better if they chunked it up. And I've heard that before, and I'm like, dude, what are you playing? Oh, nothing. Are you serious?
We have Ed handle our customer support here at the Tampa Morgue. As you can see, he's very warm.
Yeah. Go ahead. Give him the moniker, Tony. Tony has a moniker.
Angry Ed, we call him. Yeah, he handles all of our complaint letters and shit.
I totally agree with that. It's like for us, it's for me, and I don't care. I don't listen to it. I'm too old for that shit. I don't care. Whatever. Go to somebody else.
Exactly. Who gives a shit?
But for me, it's an honor to have that artwork on this album. I mean, it's an honor for us that he did it, and
absolutely
nothing's going to take that away. I'm
no, Massacre was supposed to use him. We were going to line up to have Ed Repka because Eric was managing Massacre, and he said, hey, Ed, I talked to Ed. He wants to do the album cover. I think it was just he had two things going at the same time, and the record had to come out, and we didn't get to use them. But looking back, I would have fucking loved to have Ed Repka do our album cover, and I don't care what anybody would have said because it just would have been a honor. Yes. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Exactly. And right when you see the Swallowed by Hell cover, you know who did it. You don't even have to ask. I mean, absolutely. You see it and you know it. It's that,
That was what made me happy is when I got the download. It actually, because I use VLC Player for all my stuff that I download, and it puts the cover right front and center while it's playing in the player. And I'm like, that's beautiful because that's what, when you see an album, that's what you want to do is you want to see what you're listening to, and the cover's killer. I mean, and honestly, the songs are fucking badass. But I'm old school, so I enjoy that style of old school music. I mean, it brings me back to a time because I mean, even though the production's today, you can tell the playing is from before. You can hear it. If you know anything about metal, you understand that that's not a 2024 band creating something. It just isn't.
And did you guys give Ed the ideas for the covers? Did you guys were you able to like tell him what you guys were kind of looking for, or was it?
Yeah, we gave him roughly what we were looking for, and he that's what he came up with. I mean,
I just kind of let him run with it, with our.
Which is what we wanted to do. Yeah. It's like we'll give you a kind of an idea what we're looking for, but yeah, we wanted it to be influenced by him also, and his creativity. You don't hire a person like Ed Repka and then tell him exactly what to do. Yeah, it's just you don't do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
you got to kind of tread lightly a little bit.
Right? Well, otherwise hire somebody else. We hired him for him. Let's see what you got, and that's what we got, and we're happy with it, man. We love it, and we're honored to, like you said, it's great.
Yeah, and before we start making fun of Ed's Cowboys, because I see you guys are headed to Texas pretty soon, you guys, you kind of made a deal with. Sorry, Ed. You guys kind of made a deal. Like at first, you guys weren't going to do any shows, but you guys did do a full. You guys played what? You guys played Milwaukee Metal Fest last year, I believe it was. Yep. And you guys played one other show, but you guys have some stuff. You guys got what? You guys are playing in Czech, I believe. You guys are playing in Texas. You guys are playing in New York, and are you guys starting to get the offers now and trying to figure out your next 2024?
We're not. I mean, it's not like we're getting so many offers we have to turn them down. They're coming in little by little bit, but we're hoping that more come in. The festivals, we really want to play the festivals. we're ready to go and drive around and play some shows. And you know, like you said, we're not young kids anymore. We're not going to drive around in a van, pack in and everything. So we got ourselves a good sized bus now, because we you know, we're in our 50s and late 50s, and if we're traveling around, there's got to be a bathroom like on board, you know.
Yeah.
We're not going to have to stop all the time. So we want to make sure that if we do have shows that we can drive to, that we're at least, you know, it's comfortable for us. We're, you know, we're a bunch of
the Gatorade bottle trick don't work when you're 50.
No, so but yeah, we're hoping some more festivals. You know, we're open for all of them. So if there's any festivals listening, you know, just like anything, just contact us. You know.
What do you guys have booked so far? You guys have Hell's Heroes, I know, in March, and what else do you guys got going on?
Just that, the Czech show, the Thrash Nightmare, that's in October, I believe, and September, the New York show, and I think that one might get piggybacked on a show in Philly and Washington. I think we might.
Yeah, I think there were supposed to be like 3 of them.
I think
it's
going to be a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then come back. That'll be one we're driving to. But that's it. That's all we got. Oh, we got a Chicago show coming in June 27th or something.
Venue.
You guys over at Reggie's?
No, it's at oh boy.
Has it been decided already? What the?
No, the venue is, but I think they're still kind of working on some stuff. It's a different venue. It's not Reggie's. Oh, I can't. Sorry, I apologize. Yeah,
check out the website.
It'll be announced once it's once it's actually 100% set. It'll be announced, but that's in June sometime. So
a couple of things.
Yeah, just a few things that we're really looking forward to playing in Houston. Morbid Saints never played in Texas, so.
And the Hell's Heroes Festival looks like something that's done right and is big deal and is well represented by fantastic bands and a great organization and guys that are putting it on too. So.
One of the biggest problems we're finding now is we have to come up with a set for these shows, you know, and we have Spectrum, you know, especially coming to Houston, we've never played there before. You know, we want to support our new album, but we don't want people who like the old stuff for us not to do any of that. Unfortunately, we're at a stage where we're not playing festivals. You know, like you said, we did Metal Fest. I think we had, what did we have there? We had 20 minutes. They gave us 20 minutes. We did Blades of Steel, which was after that one for Randy Kastner in Madison, and that one we had
like 35.
I think we had 35 there, and now Hell's Heroes, they gave us 30. So, you know, for us, 30 minutes.
You got to make every minute count.
You know, we're not going to be taking a lot of breaks, man. We're just going to try to hammer we want to give, you know, you're coming to see us, we want to play as much as we can. So, but it's unfortunate for us. We'd like to get a longer, hopefully sometime we'll be able to play like a 45-minute, you know, something, play a little bit more, but.
Well, you know, it goes back to what you're saying earlier too, is that for you guys, you want to play a bunch of new songs. I mean, you guys can't wait to get out and play this shit. But these days, as you know, like when you go see, what do they say when the bands start playing in the big arenas, even when the bands start playing the new songs, everyone starts filing to the bathroom or going to get beer or whatever. So there is that dilemma for every band, I think, you know. But yeah, so I totally get that. If you guys are going to a new place, you know everyone's going to want to hear stuff off Spectrum, so it becomes that kind of tug of war, I guess.
Yep. We'll mix it up. We'll mix it up though.
No, so you guys got that, and so basically, you guys. One other thing about you guys I know we've kept you on here for a while, but you guys don't run into your social media, right? So whoever wonders, it's basically not you guys doing it, right? You guys kind of stay away from that, have someone do it for you.
I'm involved a little bit, and then we do have another guy who works for us. He also does merch for us and stuff like that. He does the majority of the socials. Yeah.
Okay, and people who want to find out, like, you know, basically, if like links, store, where can they check out the official Morbid Saint stuff? Because I know you guys do have a bunch of merch going to come out for the album, getting ready to, you know, you guys are going to have a whole, basically a store full of shit. So what do you guys got going on there?
Everything you go morbidsaint.com, We have our store there. Right, everything is gonna, all the new merch and then some of the older merch that we got restocked and everything's gonna pretty much drop right on that same time, the 9th, 10th. Everything's gonna become available right at that time. And we got some. We're gonna start out small. We got for the new album. We got the new album front back T-shirts, like 8 colors, full color shirt of the album cover, and then we got a long sleeve version of that. That's what we're gonna start out with for the new stuff. Some back patches. We're gonna start out small. We're, like I said, people. We're not a huge band. We don't sell a lot of stuff. We don't. We're gonna do the best we can. But like I said, ultimately the band has to support itself. Because we don't. We all got our own lives. We all got our own jobs and stuff. But
it's not about making the money. It's about not losing the money.
Right.
That's the whole thing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, right. I get it. You guys, I do know you guys on the new album, you guys have vinyl coming out. I think you guys are putting out, you guys have cassettes. I think you guys also have cassettes coming out for Spectrum too.
Yep.
That's all rolling out for you guys. So yeah, that's all, man. We really appreciate you guys coming on, and we got to ask you. So whoever's, we're gonna head to the area now of sports really fast, which I know some people will not be interested in. But so you guys are Packers fans. You guys are big Packer fans, I know.
Yes, big Packer fans.
So who you guys got coming up here? Because I know you guys can't be rooting for the Lions, right?
Well, I actually am fine with the Lions winning if they would. I don't think they're gonna, but if they would, I'm fine with it just because they've never been there, But then I got
same here.
I also got other people like my brother-in-law. He was up at he goes, the only bad thing about that, he goes, is now I lose that when I go to, because he goes to all the games around here, and he goes, well, when you go to Detroit, he goes, when people start giving a shit as Packer fans, he goes, I always tell them, he goes, hey, I've been all the way around the stadium. Where do you guys keep your Super Bowl trophies? I can't find them.
Yeah.
Well, so he's like, he goes, it will take that away from me. But otherwise, I'd be fine with the Lions. I think the Ravens are going to win it. We had Ed, that the game last weekend or weekend before, I think it was, when we came down to Dallas, and I honestly was like, you know what? I'm happy we're getting another week of football because I didn't even expect to be in the playoffs this year with the changes they had, and was just utterly shocked that the Cowboys didn't just destroy them. It's amazing that the Packers won that game.
So was Ed. I remember.
Well, I'll tell you, man, the Cowboys have this thing where either they're fully on or they're not on it even. They're like they might as well just put the third string in, because I am not a fan of the coach, and Dak Prescott. I'll take Jordan Love 10 times over Dak Prescott, because unfortunately he might have had a great season. It's what happens after the season that, when you get into the big money games, and he chokes every time, and it's like, I'm just done with it. No, I didn't want Bill Belichick either. So that was the
imagine being me, man.
No,
imagine
I didn't want that fucker either.
Imagine being me. I got to watch the fucking Kansas City Chiefs, who I hate,
and
I got to watch
but them.
Anybody. I mean, and the Raiders. I'm a Raider fan, and they're like the Jersey Shore of football. Like, it's always at the end of the season, everything's falling apart. Coaches are exposing themselves. There's always shit going on with the Raiders. It's like a circus.
I think you only got to watch the Chiefs one more weekend, though.
I hope so, too. Man. The Ravens better blow them out of the fucking water.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't like the Ravens, but I'm a Raven fan this weekend, so
I have to watch what I say, because my wife is she's into that Swiftie Kelsey shit, and I just can't take it. I can't take it. I can't. And I'm like, my favorite team is the Cowboys and anybody playing the Eagles. So basically, that's been how when they got knocked out last week by the Bucks, I was just like, or the week before, I was like, that's one team I don't have to see. Now, if KC loses, I don't care who's in the Super Bowl. I don't care.
KC has to go. Pat, you're a big Packer guy too?
Oh yeah, I am, and I would say the only reason I would say what I go for now is Lions, and because they're Midwest, they get no respect, and it's just fucking not San Francisco. Fuck San Francisco, and fuck KC and Kelsey and Swift.
And what they did when they did to Stafford.
Nothing to me. The Ravens are. I don't know. So by default, I only go with interest into this Super Bowl or anything now. But I'm excited about the Packers and this young team. Jordan Love, these young receivers, a new defensive coordinator coming in. I think we got a lot of good years ahead of us as Packer fans coming in.
People don't realize, and people were mocking Jordan Love, and I said, fucking before Aaron left, I said, this happened with Brett Favre, where Aaron Rodgers was under Brett Favre, and everybody's like, Aaron's not going to be worth the shit, and he wound up almost surpassing Favre, and Jordan Love was under him all those years, and I said, you don't not learn something from these goats. You don't, and the kid proved it. Now, give him next year when he's got a couple new guys and some better weapons and coach, he's a good coach. I mean, he's a little cocky, but he's a good coach. But I think it didn't surprise me that they won. It didn't, because I could see that the kid was poised. And when you're a young guy and you can handle your calm, you can go anywhere. And that's where look at Brock Purdy last year. He was Mr. Irrelevant. He was nobody. Like, nobody thought he would ever be anything like Brady. And if you keep your poise, you can go a long way.
I think when you're that young and nobody expects anything of you, you're just kind of out there winging it and playing loose and free, and you don't really feel the pressures. You don't know how big the stage is. You're just going out there doing your thing, and and that's it's a good sign.
Well, he was thrown into it. He was thrown into it like this poor Bryce Young kid. Everybody's like, oh, he sucks. I'm like, did you check out the team he was throwing to? I mean, he had nobody. I mean, how do you Jordan at least had some players. You know what I mean? And some of the ones that were no names became names because they stepped up and they became they gelled together very well. After the first couple losses, everybody wrote Green Bay off. And then what happened?
Yep.
The last bunch of games, they just started kicking ass.
That Dallas game, Ed, the one little good part for us for me on that is all those. We've been Packer fans forever, and I remember how many years we used to go down to Dallas. We'd always have to go to Dallas with Brett Favre and whatever, and just get our asses handed to us. And we were just like, every year, I'm like, why the hell do we always have to go to Dallas? They don't have to come up here and play in the cold,
Yep.
And I used to.
Yeah. Well, there was the one game, the Dez Bryant game, when they said that wasn't a catch, and we should have got the touchdown and went into the playoffs. And now am I wrong though? But years later, what did they say? It was a catch. It was a catch.
I'm still hanging on the Tuck rule, so
Yeah. Get out of here.
I actually think that was a catch myself.
Yeah.
But we'll take it.
No, it was a good game, and you know what? Whatever. Dallas sucks.
Yeah. No.
Well, there you go. Well,
I heard somebody said that. I heard somebody who's a friend of ours was actually at the game, and they said that they seen Dak come over to the sidelines, and he threw his helmet. You could tell he was pissed, and he threw his helmet, and he said somebody intercepted it.
And there it is.
There you go. Well, there you go. So we just pulled up some football on here too, which we, but yeah, man, guys, we really appreciate you guys coming on, man. And we're gonna, we'll the album's out February 9th, and we'll definitely, mention it on here when it comes out. And I know we took a lot of your guys' time, and we really appreciate you guys giving it to us.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely, we appreciate it, man.
Yeah, so what is it? High Roller Records, February 9th. Swallowed by Hell, you guys just did 2 videos. So you guys did do a video for last week, right? So people can find when you guys going to put that out?
It's this Saturday, right?
Today's well, we did. We only did the Swallowed by Hell video, the original one, the initial one, the first release, and then it was our intentions to do another music video for Rise, which we just released, but it just didn't happen. Unfortunately, we would have loved to have done it, but so there's another lyric video for it out on YouTube right now. I just uploaded it this morning. So unfortunately, it's gonna. We're hoping to do some music videos for some of the new songs, but it's probably going to take a little bit longer than we had anticipated to do that.
Yeah, to get any kind of go ahead. To get any kind of music video done outside or have anything up in Wisconsin here, it's a little difficult
right
with
now
with the weather and the conditions. So
Yeah, what's your guys' temperature right now? We were negative 24 here about 2 weeks ago.
It's summertime now. We're above freezing, but we had the deep freeze and over a foot of snow, in like 0 degrees, single digit temperatures for a couple of weeks.
Last couple of weeks were 0, 1, stuff like that. I know when the Packers were down in Dallas, I think, didn't they say it was like freaking 18 degrees or 15 degrees or something down there?
Yeah, it was cold in Texas that particular week, which is El Nino or whatever they're calling it, El Nino, but whatever. They were easy to handle it. Plus, it's indoors anyway, so I don't think it matters.
Yeah, not like up here.
We're always cold here. Yeah. Eastern Europe right now is just, and Ed's over. Like, I always miss Florida the most this time of year. So, but yeah, guys, we really appreciate it. We'll say goodbye to you when we hang up here. Anything else you guys want to say?
Hey, just appreciate all our fans, the support that we've gotten since we've been back together, and we hope to see you out there on the road and meet a lot of fans and play some music live.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to getting out and playing live and letting people hear. Like I said before, if we get a little bit longer set times where we can play a little bit more of both albums or all three, whatever the case may be. But we're looking forward to it, and very, very fortunate to be in the situation we're in.
Cool, man. Yeah, you guys, we really appreciate it. And anybody who wants to pick up the album at 11 p.m. on February 9th, go over to the Morbid Saint webpage and, Swallowed by Hell, be out. And, we'll see you guys very soon on the Morgue. Ed, we're going to come back when? On Monday, Tuesday. I think, right? We'll be back Monday or Tuesday. We'll be back. Yep. And, Jim, Pat, we will see you again, and we'll talk to you when we hang up here. Everyone else, thank you for listening. You can find us where, Ed?
Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Dead Facebook, Instagram, OnlyFans, and YouTube. We might make money if we did OnlyFans. Yeah, we may need to do that. Assless chaps backwards.
Yes. And you can find us. You can email us at thetampamorgue@gmail.com. We appreciate everybody for listening. Everybody, thanks, guys. Morbid Saint. And we'll see you guys on the Tampa Morgue coming up later on this week. Peace.
See ya.